Hey guys, Brent Hull Wednesday design video. Going back to the house in Mission Hills in Kansas City. Going to show you a different version. I loved that Colonial Revival version, but I'm going to show you something different. Come join me. Okay guys, part two of this house in Kansas City, showing a second way of doing that. You may remember the first way we had a Colonial Revival version, and I was certain that the Colonial Revival version was the best way to do it. We kicked the roof up with a pedimented end and moved the door over a little bit and kind of colonialized it. I was saying that because it had double hung windows, it was kind of preferable. Well, then I started playing around with this version, and I did a wider version where I kind of just sketched over top of it, showing how it might look. There are timbers actually in this stucco overhang. So what you would do is you would kind of have these finials that came down. If this was a timber framed house, you would have these finials that come down. You might have this little entry. You would go with a plank door. I didn't change the windows that much. I changed these to casement windows, but I left most of the other windows the same. On this version of it, I've changed these to casements, these, and all those. These are still left double hungs. They wanted a walkout balcony here, and you'll see that I've kind of put a slat design in this. This is in a period revival neighborhood, so adding period revival details to this house, opening up the eave with exposed rafter tails, really turns it into a little bit of a cottage house. Now I'm playing with the timbers in this upper section, and you can get more playful here, right, by kind of having some kind of squiggly lined timbers that kind of are appropriate to that period. Certainly the plank door I think helps, but I actually, when I finished this, I was like, actually it turns out pretty good. So this house can go either way. It can be that Colonial Revival house, or it can be this cottage. And in the Colonial Revival version, I kicked up the roof and kind of gave us a stronger pedimented end there. And in this version, I kept the hip roof and just exposed the rafter tails. And basically, I am playing around with the architectural details and elements, right? I'm taking a porch detail, and instead of having columns like this version with the kind of the Chippendale railing, I go with a beamed version with bracketed beams. I'm showing, in this version how I'm actually trying to peg the joinery, which would be something that would help. I've got the pegging and the joinery here. And so it's a little bit of a dial that you kind of play with, that kind of, you can kick it up and really make this rustic and fun. If you wanted to, for instance, introduce timbers here, or put timbers into the brick here, or timbers over here, you could frame this whole structure in the house with timber framing so that it really conveys that period revival look. And so, if you don't want it, quite that crazy, then you dial it down. Like these I'm showing different versions of the slat porch, but you don't have to do that, and you can simplify this porch. And so, it looks nice as a cottage, and I think it works that way. And so, playing around with these details again. So if the timber is one detail, the windows is the second, the front door and this kind of entry. And so you go with a front door in this section, which is just bracketed corbels that kind of hold up something simple. And this one, you've got columns. You've got a fan light over the door. This is a little bit different. This is, you have shutters. This, I'm showing the plank style shutter in here, but I actually think it looks better because the shutter covers so much of the timber. I've done the rest of it without the shutters because I think it works. If you wanted to introduce shutters over here, because that expanse is kind of a little bit barren over there, then you could play with those plank shutters there. But again, louvered shutters versus plank shutters, right? Timbering versus non-timbering, playing with the roof, opening the eaves. 3, 4, 5 things, and this house kind of transforms from this Colonial Revival, right, to something more period revival English. But overall, this house needs something. It needs a little bit of oomph. It needs a little bit of character. If they decide to go that route, then we'd probably then work on this area over here, because right now it's got that little cupola and it looks like a little Colonial Revival little addition, and we would need to kind of pull it in the direction of this period revival look. You know, on the windows, you know, I've played around with how you do that, and I've got 6/1 windows here and that Colonial Revival look, 6/1 here. These are 6/6. So I've told the story that this little piece is a little bit different from when these were added on later. The same thing is true with casement windows, and this little addition you could put some leaded glass windows in here. That would be another thing of turning that dial over, of playing more to that English style. I've got a type of casement window that shows up in the catalogs from the 20s and 30s, this kind of divided light upper portion and then kind of a big light below. It was something that you see starting around 1910 into the 1920s and 30s as part of that period revival look. So that's the type of casements I put in over here. I've just did divided light casements on this point, but you see that I'm mixing them up. You see that I'm playing around. Even having a 6/1 window here works because that was done in the 20s. So I'm trying to, all the pieces and parts that I'm trying to do are trying to tell this story that it was put together in the 20s, that it's part of that period revival neighborhood, and all of those little details help. Okay guys, what did you think? We got a Colonial Revival version, we got a period revival version. I like both, right? Which one do you like? I think there's good attributes to both. Let me know in the comments. I'm Brent Hull, thanks for watching.